Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I hope you're all doing good. I know that we're 22 minutes late, but you can blame me, and I'll tell you why. So, I was a hyena before for many, many months and weeks, and then on Thursday, I became a tortoise. I know you wouldn't understand, but it's fine. Just take it like that. That now I'm not very mobile, so I've become a tortoise, and everything is in the tortoise dance movement. Okay. So because of that, everything slowed down and it's all my fault. So you can blame me. My sister is a very typical British lady. 2 minutes to 2 o'clock, and she's like, "Girl, what are you doing? We are late. When are you coming?" And I'm like, "Hun, I'm trying the best I can, but I'm still an African and now a tortoise on top of that." So. But anyway, we're here this afternoon to have a very interesting conversation. And I hope that we can all draw the valuable lessons from this conversation that we're about to have. We're not having the conversation because we want to talk about people necessarily, but we're using the story to highlight the problems that we have in our community and how we can elevate ourselves to become better people. It's why we do this. So, without wasting any much time, I want my sister in the house who comes every Sunday. Please help me say thank you to her for coming to the house for us to have this conversation. So, a lot of you know who Davido is, you know who Chioma is. These people have been together for some time. The guy has had other baby mamas. They lost a son. And now it turns out that this guy allegedly has another baby on the way, and it's not Chioma's baby. So the question I'm asking my sister and all of us this afternoon, are we about to have, or do we already have another Annie Indibia in the house? Because there's so many of us women that are going through situations that are similar to what Chioma is going through. In Chioma's case, where are the other children that she will make the basis for staying on? Because that's what a lot of us women do. Because of the children, I cannot leave, because of the children. But does she, what is her reason for choosing to say? And I've seen a lot of commentary on social media for and against. And leave her alone. Only she knows. Do you know the investment that she's made in him? And she has to stay. If she's chosen to stay in her marriage, what is so wrong with that? Right? It's a whole lot. But anyway, I'm going to leave my sister to set the ball rolling. And then when it's time for me to interject, I will do so. So without any more wasting of time, my darling, we are waiting for you. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Sika. How are you? Just want to say good afternoon to everyone.
I'm still a
I don't want
tortoise.
to. You're still at this. Oh my God. Just want to say good afternoon to everyone and say good morning and good evening to everyone listening to us. We really appreciate all of you who are joining us and those who join us later. Please share this video. Please subscribe, okay, and support Sika with some stars as well. Okay, we are not here to gossip about anybody. We're here really to do life lessons. Okay, the lessons that we can learn from what has transpired between Choma and Davido. And I mean, we already know that Baba is also in the same situation with Annie Dibia, to the point that even though she's married to Baba, her kids are actually like his last ones, right? So it's important for us to really ask the question: is this something that we are doing wrong as women, right? Or is it the way we're raising our sons? Is it the way we women are displaying our worth? Why are we making this something that has now become quote unquote socially acceptable? Growing up in Ghana in the 90s, you never heard the term baby mama, right? But now, even in the culture scene, in the African culture scene, baby mama is now something that is being portrayed as kind of an acceptable societal role. Okay. but is this something that really will help our community? And Sika, when we decided to really talk about this, I sat down, I was thinking, I'm like, okay, there are a lot of popular musicians, right? Pop singers who are in the Caucasian scenes, right? Multi-millionaires, some of them even billions. The Beatles, we know them, they are worth a lot of money, right? And they've had this world for over spending into over almost 4 decades or over 4 decades even. They started the Beatles from the 70s, right? And I asked myself, how many of them have three or four baby mamas? Right? So we're here to really ask ourselves the question, how many pop stars who are worth millions, billions, have multiple baby mothers? Having children everywhere. Oh, because you have a breakdown relationship with another, you jump into the other. At the end of the day, you gotta ask yourself, are you the problem or are the women the problem? And the women too, at the end of the day, what is he coming to? What sweet nonsense is he whispering into your ears that's making you feel like you're so special? There's something unique about you that is making him circulate around and come back to you, right? We want to ask ourselves the question, right? And I mean, if anybody has a better answer, please comment, right? So for me, it's really about questions. We need to
Yes.
ask ourselves the questions, right?
Correct.
We
Correct.
have Elon. Elon, obviously, he grew up in an African culture. He grew up in South Africa, right? He's also been exposed. He's also partially, he's kind of Canadian. His parents are Canadian. And I mean, he's schooled in South Africa. He's also schooled in Canada and eventually schooled in the States, right? He's the world richest man. How many baby mamas does he have? Because I
Mm,
really want us to separate the wealth, right, from the individual, the fame from the individual. Because we're talking about famous people here too. Elon is a famous man, right? Our metaverse owner, Mr. Facebook. Is he also not a
Mark
multi-billionaire?
Zuckerberg.
Is he also not a multi-millionaire
Of
or
course he is.
billionaire? Sorry,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So is he also not famous, right? The question is, how many baby mothers does he have, right? Let's go to Amazon, right? Jeff Bezos. How many baby mothers does he have, right? Then we'll come to all these black athletes, right? Then we come to all these black musicians. Almost all of them have multiple baby mothers, right? Is this a problem that is related to our culture, right? Or is this a problem that we as black women mostly, right, are enabling, promoting, and using it as a crown of glory? And really, is this a crown of glory? Right? It's a few shoe bags, a few shoes and handbags, nice hotels, nice, trips here and there. Is that what we are selling our future to? So
Mm.
really, that is the question. And I'm gonna stop here, Sika, because I want you to do that. I feel like your mouth is full of many things.
No, the thing is that I have seen people in my lifetime who, whether rich and famous or not, men that have a lot of discipline. I talk about my dad a lot, and a lot of people are like, are you the only person who has a father? No. This man may not be the wealthiest person in the world, but one thing he does have, which he taught us, even his daughters, is discipline. It is not that um, these men who are disciplined don't also fancy other women. They do. It is not that we women, when we are married, we don't also look at other men and think, whew, what a nice six pack. Oh man. We do. But the only thing that keeps it real is that I made vows to stick to this woman. Yeah, times may not be fun right now. They're turbulent times. My parents have had the same marriage that normal people have. There have been times when, yeah, you can see that, yeah, things are not what they should be. How have these people been able to stay, one man, one woman, for almost, they got married in 1977, before even I was born, and I'm 42 now. So do the math. 45 years and counting. In fact, this month is the 46th anniversary since they've been married. How have they done it? It's not that it's been a pot of gold, it's been easy. There have been times when they feel like strangling each other, but they're still here, right? So I don't know whether this issue is an issue to do with the money. People say, oh, it's the money. You only know somebody's character when they have money. But when you have money, are you not supposed to enjoy this money with the person who stood with you when you were nothing? When you listen to the Atubaba and Indibia story, they met when this guy was nothing. Like they were down in the dump, sleeping on mats, eating eba on the floor,
taking taking church together.
taking Okada together. One person on the
Okay,
front,
okay,
the other at the back, keke
okay.
on the back. So you would think that a woman who has stuck with you when you were nothing, when her others were out there trying to chase fame and money and handbags and everything, she stayed true to you and agreed to eat gari on the floor with you. But as soon as you start making money, you feel that it's okay to betray the person's trust for you, take advantage of the person, rub their face in the mud because that's what it is, and then go and produce other children out there. And now you think that by marrying her, like you've kind of wiped off everything and made it right, but you haven't. She can't leave because a lot of the times these women feel all that time, all that energy, that effort, emotion, and money that they invested in you, by leaving with nothing, they've wasted their life. So they have to stick with it even when they know it is hurting. Yeah, she's a model, she does her own thing and all of that, but she will not be the same standing on her own feet, on her own. It's why she's sticking. But the fact of the matter is that little by little by little, you're eroding your own person. You become a shell of yourself. You're not yourself anymore. You can't think, you can't sleep, you can't breathe, you can't anything because you're so consumed by this relationship that you find yourself in. And it's so hurtful and so painful. Look at Chioma. These people just lost their son. Is it even 1 year since they lost their son?
They actually, I remember happened on October 31st. I remember here. That's when I saw it on Twitter. So
So six
I'm
months.
yeah, but I'm guessing. I mean, if it's really true, then whoever it is was pregnant before it happened, right? So at the end of the day, it's really not about what has already happened. It's about why we do the things that we do, why we tend to accommodate some things that we accommodate, right? As women and even sometimes as men as well, right? Because Sika, I really want to really poke holes, right? Do you know that studies have shown in America 75% of Black children are born to are born into fatherless home, and when you now look into the statistics, children born in such homes have a higher likelihood of getting into trouble with the law, right? Are more likely to live in poverty. Okay. Um, there are so many, they are more likely to not do well in school. Okay. And the statistics are as high, it's way over 50%, right? So when we are having these conversations, it's not really, this is not something that we should take casually, right? There are a lot of girls who are looking to Annie. I'm sure during her time, like no, the people's like the Chomas were looking at her, and our Choma is in the same state, right? Is she gonna be like Annie, or is she just also gonna gather up courage and decide that, you know what, I can do better with myself. Okay. And this is where women, our self worth is important, right? Our own self identity, knowing your own purpose, right? Because no matter who you are, God already has your own purpose. You know, if you are not don't believe in God, some people believe in star. You have your own star in the sky, right? The person you form a relationship with also has his own. So if his own is not aligned to yours, then maybe it's time for you to step back, reflect, and see what can I do for myself, right? Because obviously some people don't have self-discipline, right? They don't have the ability to discipline themselves. And people say, oh, nobody said that you should be polygamous. That is just, a myth that came up with Abraham had more than one wife and all those things, right? My dear, do you have the richness
Hmm.
and the capability,
Hmm.
right? The Bible says a good man leaves inheritance for his children's children. It doesn't say your children, his children's children, right? That's why you see, like, most of the time, let's say you end up, you're famous, you're worth, like, let's say $20 million. Okay, you have so many baby mamas, you end up having, like, let's say 20 kids. The 20 kids, God forbid anything happens to you, instead of maybe if you had 5 kids, they could share 5 million each. Now they all have to share $1 million each. How much wealth gap have you created? Right? So this is really not about someone talking down or anything. It's about you thinking beyond yourself, right? Self-control, right? Self-control. Most people think, oh, that's why, there's so much poverty in Africa, so much well, if one man wants to have 20 wives and have 20 children, that alone increases your ability to live in poverty, right? As we think about it, we see that if you look at the numbers here in America, Black people are the bottom of the bottom. Why? Families that are men having children everywhere. Girl, you have so many baby daddies, so many baby mamas, right? Poverty. And poverty decreases your lifespan, right? So this is beyond your health. It's nice. You have money, you want to flaunt it, you want to do many things. That's why we see some of these athletes, NBA players, CFL players, what do you call it? Uh, NHL players and all these Black players. Most of them, by the time they take out child support, they have no money left, right? So let's rethink. Let's rethink. Yes, it was okay in the past for people to have multiple women, right? But is it something that you can do today? Does it increase your quality of life? Does it help the children you're giving birth to? Do you have money to take care of them? You're a musician. How many musicians have we known growing up? Some of them, they've disappeared. We don't even hear of them anymore. Today is his time. Tomorrow, you don't hear of them anymore. There's going to be someone else who is going to be better than Davido. And at that time, where would you be, Chama? Right? Right now, I remember when I was younger and Papa came with, girl, you are my African queen. Everywhere you go, you're playing. Now I can go to 10 parties. I'll be lucky if I can hear one person play it. You see what I mean? Right? So we have to think beyond our feelings, our emotions, how we feel, right? Whether you struggle with a person, whether you've done this with a person, does that mean that your children will have to put up with this? What benefits? Maybe, yes, you can ride on this fame now. Why don't you ride on this fame to build yourself as a woman? Why don't you ride on it to build yourself as a woman?
Mhm.
And build a solid foundation for yourself, because as we know, it's just the same as, being married to a soccer player. When they broke their leg, nobody will know about them anymore, because every day, you know and when I was young, it was Abedi Pele. Now it's his children, because he's a smart man. He was a man who was thinking what? Transgenerational. Are you thinking transgenerational, or are you just thinking about yourself and how you feel? Lack of self-discipline. Women, your self-worth. You know that this guy has like 5 baby mamas. You too, you want to volunteer yourself. And then after, you want to cry like if you no. You should investigate. Why is he in relationship? And then whilst he's in relationship, he's not done taking care of that business. Then he's moving on to another business, having children everywhere. You have one children with AC. You have another children with Ama. Evaluate yourself. Are you going to be the third baby mama? Right? And then let's not think about it. Most of the time, such men, if they live in the diaspora and those two women are crazy, when you marry that man, he might never have enough money to bring home to you, because he has to pay for child support.
Mm.
He has to pay for child support for those women, right? So examine yourself. You are in Africa, some man comes to Africa, sweet, sweet nonsense, whispering into your ears. And then like, oh, that woman I married in abroad, she doesn't respect, she has no respect for me, she doesn't know how to cook, she doesn't know how to clean, she doesn't know how to do this. And then you too, your ears, sweet, 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 sweet. You let him carry you, marry you, and bring you abroad. My dear, you're gonna come subsidize his child support program. Okay? That's what you're gonna be doing. You're gonna come here, and if you have kids with him, you're gonna come and you're gonna work hard and take care of your own kids, because he has multiple baby mamas. And then the banks, because if he doesn't pay those money, they're gonna seize his passport. He's not gonna be able to drive. All of these things happen, especially in Canada and US. They have the same system. So if you skip in Canada, when you go to the US, they will catch you. If you skip in US, you come to Canada, they will catch you, right? So there's a lot at stake here, right? So if we have the chomers or people who are in such situation, please re-examine your life. Is this what I want for my future? Am I thinking translation? What is my self-worth? Right? Do I want to retire and then live in poverty? Or do I want to retire and have enough wealth that I can pass it on to my children? Right? So it's important that whatever decisions that we make, whether to be someone's third or fourth or fifth baby mama, or even someone's second baby mama, you have to know that your commitment is not to the person. The commitment is to the person and all the baggages that comes with that person, right? And don't let the person deceive you otherwise. Okay? Don't let them deceive you and start telling you stories, because there's always stories they're going to tell. There's always stories about how everything is not their fault, but it's someone's fault. And the moment they start blaming other persons, pack your bags and flee and never look back, because you're going to subsidize that bad behavior where the person lacks the ability to accept responsibilities for their actions. Sika, I'll pause here for you to interject.
Two things that I wanted to raise, because as you were talking, I was thinking about, I don't make a commentary about my father just because you're always talking about your dad, but I learned a lot from his relationship with his parents that has then come and trickled down to us. The reason why I talk about discipline, not saying this to embarrass anybody, because a lot of us come from such backgrounds. My grandparents on both sides, the grandfathers, they were very promiscuous too, just like he's being, right? They think they've gotten a bit of money, and so they need to spread their tentacles. My father has 15 other siblings. There were three mamas. The mom was the wife, but there were two others. Those were the ones we knew about. If there were others that, we never heard about, then that's that. But there were three of them. Now, with these 15 children now with three different mothers. You can just imagine the chaos that was in that home. This one thinks this one's mother got more benefit from the man than this one. This one says that this one took this one's children. It was just chaos all the time, even up till now. And it's not just with their children, it's also with their children's children. Yes, if your grandfather didn't take this one's, your father to school, you think you guys today have become something. But the thing that I love so much, and the reason why I talk about him so much, is that from that 16 children episode, he learned a lesson. He was a military man. A lot of them have multiple children. I have a friend whose mother stayed. The husband had 4 children, my friend being one of them. And it was 3 children later than this woman who has stayed with her husband when her husband had just one pair of trousers and one torn shoe, and used her nursing income to support this man to become somebody, and to then find a good 20 years later that this man had had 3 other children with another woman. And now this woman is in her almost 80s. The husband has died 20 plus years ago. But when you talk to her, the pain, the disappointment, the letdown, the shock, she still talks about it. An almost 80-year-old woman, she still talks about this thing with so much venom, as if the man were here present and we were still talking about it.
The pain is the
Yes,
pain
yes. And that she
and the
says,
trauma.
this man made a fool out of me because
Mm,
I came from a rich background, even
mm,
back in the 40s. My father used to take me to school in a Benz.
mm,
The father had many children with a lot
mm.
of baby mamas, but he had money. So all of them were provided for. My father warned me not to do it. But I said, I love this man. He was the last person under the surface of the planet I expected to betray me. Betray. That's the word she used. Betray me like this. But he did, with 3 other children. Do you know how she found out? She said she was going out. She was coming back from work driving, and she saw this woman with a child at the back. When she looked at the head of the child, the face and everything, she said, this one,
Blood.
this one is Clement's son. That nobody can convince me this child is
Otherwise,
Clement's son. And she thought it was a joke. You know how you say things to yourself, but at the back of your mind, you're not ready to accept the truth. So her friend went and did the investigation, followed this woman to her house, and it turns out it wasn't just that one at the back. There were 2 older ones prior to that one. It hurt. It hurts so much. And so the man died. He got diabetes and all the wahala and everything. He died. But this woman today, when you talk to her, still talks about this issue as if it happened yesterday. But this is 30, 40 years ago issue. And it's caused so much problems. And sometimes the mothers don't know what to do with themselves. So they take the anger and frustration out on the child or children that remind them of the
that
man.
I know, and that is what is causing a lot of generational trauma. And even like, because sometimes we think that people make decisions based on their feelings on or how they feel or what they think is appropriate, what they think is now culturally or socially acceptable, right? But you have to think about it because things that affect you or the way you express emotions, right? It can affect the people around you. It can cause trauma in the lives of your children and even sometimes the people around you, right? But most of the time, we are not taught to try to deal with some of these things, right? Because betrayal is very, very hurtful, right? When people betray you, they lie to you, they deceive you. When you feel like someone has really let you down emotionally, intellectually, and even sometimes financially, right? So all of these things cause trauma because
Mm,
right now I'm just putting myself in her shoes if this is true. I'll be crying my eyes out. I'll be confused. I'll be looking for guidance, right? But she'll be in a situation where a lot of people will say, oh, stay, 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 stay. But is it the right thing to do, right? Is it better for you to walk away, and then go through therapy and eventually come back to yourself and pick yourself up from where you left and begin to build, right? And that is where most people find themselves. So for me, I'll say my rule is once you pass two baby mamas, because you cannot make the same mistake twice. Once you have two baby mamas and they want to make you the third, you better start running, right? If there's one, fine, because sometimes we make mistake the first time. But once you start seeing a third baby mama, I beg, don't even put on your shoes. Just drop your shoes, pick it, and begin to run.
You know,
Right?
we always make the excuse about cheating being a mistake, and I've really struggled. My sister, you know my opinion on this. I've really struggled to accept the fact that men say cheating is a mistake. This is it. Oh, you think about it, my darling. You are a man. You've met a woman. You know you are married, but you are talking to this woman. You talk, 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 talk. You start doing things on the phone. You start sending each other's, you know, SIM card and Bobby and all of that. And then you go to the person's house for a visit. They cook for you. You sit and talk. You touch each other and all of that. And then you end up. No, what did you think was going to happen? Like, unlike posts, what do they do? So when people
There we
tell me
go.
that these things, when people tell me that people do these things by mistake, I really struggle because it started from the conversations that you start having. That is how we become close to each other.
Well,
5 years
because that's
ago, I didn't know you, did I? We hadn't
no,
met.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that's what self-discipline comes in,
Thank
right?
you. Thank you.
Self-discipline comes in, right? And we just need to discipline ourselves for many reasons, right? For me, maintaining self-discipline is just beyond anything, right? And from whenever we look at, especially these Oyibo men, they have so much affluence, they have so much wealth, but yet they find ways to discipline themselves, right? They find ways to make sure, because the thing is that one of the things I think, especially when it comes to our culture, and and I'm talking about Black culture, okay, I'm
Mhm.
not talking about African culture because it's mimic and sometimes it's similar, right? Is that the Caucasians have been brainwashed to let them, they have been brainwashed to believe, or they've been it's been embedded in their minds that when you do these things they have consequences, right? It has consequences which goes beyond you, right? That is why we don't see them putting themselves out there to that level, right? Because they know, is it not them that invented child support, right? They know, because if you are a high income earner and then that money is coming out, you know, it can be like, because even people who are average income earners who are not even making that much money, they are getting paid like what do you call it, what, 500, $600 a month. So if you're a high income earner, that's still a lot of money, right? That's going to come out. I think it's at about 10%, right? So imagine if Davido had all these baby mamas in America, all of them. Imagine how much he'd be paying child support every month, right? Imagine how much money, if all those women took him to court, how much money he'd be paying every month in child support.
Mhm.
That alone will be a huge deterrent, because I'm sure he'll be at least paying about $500,000,
Oh yeah.
a year in child support.
Oh
That's
yeah.
not including school fees. It does not include child support. Does not include school fees. It does not include extracurricular activities. It does not include daycare if the child has to go to daycare. It does not include university tuition if the child is in university, right? So that in itself is a deterrent that by the time that you take out your SIM card, you know that maybe the SIM card needs to go back in the phone, right? So we need it's a conversational change, right? It's a conversational change. We need to really have this conversation. We have rampant. Most people like say, "Oh, but me, I'm not poor." Yes, but when the statistics is come, they will take your 100,000 and somebody's 20,000, and they will lump it together, and they found out the average, and the average is what's going to be reflective of the community. So it's important that we have these conversations with our boys. Okay, self discipline, having multiple children with different women is not sustainable, it's not a solution. If you have a broken man syndrome, go and see a therapist. If you've gone through trauma, go and see a therapist. Okay? Going and jumping in bed with different women is not what's going to solve your problem. It's not going to change anything, right? But rather you want to go to therapy, deal with your trauma, right? Because I honestly believe that he himself maybe also has some issues that he needs to deal with. Because if you cannot find contentment, even if you say, okay, one woman is not making you happy, if you cannot find contentment, then because contentment starts with you as an individual, why is he not finding contentment in
Mm-hmm.
himself? And
Yeah.
we all need to separate the music, the talent from the individual. He's
Correct.
a broken man.
Yeah.
He's a broken man, right? And he needs to seek help because at the end of the day, when the song fades out, when the music goes down, how is he managing and dealing with all these emotions of all these women? How do you sleep at night? How do you have peace? You
Mm-hmm.
know, are you lie today, you lie to Amma, tomorrow you're going to tell another story to. That's why we see Annie. She broke down on the internet. Like, we don't want Chioma to. She's going through so much pain. Because I cannot imagine. I have young ones as well. I cannot imagine, you know, losing your first seed,
Oh, Attractor, you're so funny.
right? So he sleeps like a baby. The money will make him sleep like a baby, but his mind is all over the place, right? That's why we see you'll be indulging a lot of drugs, a lot of alcohol, just to really mask the pain, right?
Yeah.
You're just doing that to mask the pain. At the end of the day, you're just a broken man. You are. You're
Mm.
just a broken man. You're not dealing with issues that's rooted, that's making you yourself, you're struggling with self worth. Because, people always project the way they feel on others, right? And it's important. Like, I can't imagine how he sees his legacy, right? Because at the end of the day, he has to also think about his own legacy. When he's gone, what will people know as who Davido is? Is it going to be a one hit wonder?
Mm.
And people are just going to forget about him, right? Or does he want to build a legacy for his children's children? Somebody say, oh, how do you know he's not building a legacy? Well, if you are spitting everywhere, you have nothing left at the end of the day. When
Mm-hmm.
it's time to share, some people might not even get anything. And these are the ones we know of. What about the ones we do not know of?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. That is the whole thing. Two things I wanted to, when you were talking, these things are just popping up my head left, right, and center. There was an army officer in Ghana, right, who was sleeping in everything in skirts. Oh, he worried his wife so much. But again, back in the day, if you remember, a lot of our mothers went empowered. They didn't have a lot of money. They were the homemakers. They stayed home. They raised the children and everything. This man was giving this woman so much wahala. And then guess what happens? One day, he's gone with his girlfriend to go chill somewhere. And they were on the motorway, the only motorway that we have, Ekwamo. I know you know where I mean. And these two people were involved in a tragic accident, and both man and side chick perished in the accident. So then a few weeks later, there's the funeral, and everybody else is dressed up in black. People are throwing themselves on the floor, screaming, crying, everything. And the wife was in white, jubilating, having a party, like when people were dancing and dancing in sorrow. She was with a white handkerchief, like, oh God, thank you so much. This Yaya man has finally gone. Good riddance to bad rubbish. And people were, insulting her. How mean can you be? Did you even love this man in the first place? Yada, yada, yada. But these are the things that happen when some of our brothers think that they are the only ones that are so clever. They're the only wise people that be. Look, the women who will tell you God's honest truth. I will, because I don't give a toss about what you think. But the truth is the truth, and the truth will set you free. The sisters, my sisters who will be bold and honest enough to tell you the truth, will tell you guys that you are not the only ones who get fed up with eating egusi. You are not the only ones who get fed up with eating bitter leaf soup and jollof rice. We women, we also get fed up with eating pounded yam and gari all the time. We do. But we have the ability to think about the roles and the commitments that we made, the vows that we made, and the regard and respect that we have for ourselves is what makes us stick and stay to that year marriage that you have put us in. When we met you, it was like this. Now it is like this, and we are still staying. That is why we stay. Right? Don't think that this
Papa.
it's true. It's true now. It's true. This thing, this baby carrot, we still stay. And that is why. Because we respect ourselves and we respect the vows that we made. I don't know whether you heard the story. The woman was jubilating, white handkerchief, white up
Oh
and down,
yeah. Oh yeah.
excited and jubilating that this useless man has gone to be with the Lord. Right?
Because maybe he was just giving her a
It
lot,
was
a
too much.
lot, a lot.
He was everywhere. He was everywhere. This day he's in this one's room. Tomorrow he's had another child here. The next day he's here. He was everywhere, and it was so embarrassing. Right? And we don't
For
think
me,
about our children, as you were saying. We don't
for
think about
me
our
is
children.
really more about your own future as an individual. Because one of the things is that if you see most of these men, sometimes their children will come around later on, but the love is not the same, right? The love is not the same. There's division. There's so much, because the women, they're all doing multiple things at one time. Look at what happened to Duce and me, and then their son, right? So the implication is the things that, for me, it's not really about what you want to do. I don't care if you want. You set your SIM card with everything, but you have to know as you're doing it, there are consequences, right? And the consequences, you have to think about beyond today. You have to think about your future, your retirement age. If you don't take time, you end up being one old man by yourself. And that has happened to a lot of rich people who have end up, do you remember that man, that Alaji, that's even
Mm-hmm.
he's not even dead and they're already fighting over his property whilst he was on
Mm-hmm.
the sick bed,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because so many women, so many children,
Mm-hmm.
right? So and they're only fighting because there's not enough for everybody, they're feeling like, right? So you are portraying, you're creating an environment of lack that promotes jealousy, promotes division, with the lack of togetherness, so much things, right? And even doing this in this part of the world, which most people are doing, my generational men are doing the same thing. Boys, I call them boys, having children with multiple women. When are you going to, the money that you could, you know what? Do you know that statistics shows that people who are together or couples who are together
Mm-hmm.
have more wealth together than those who are single,
Of course.
right?
Of course.
Because you're able to
You're
join forces together, build together, and do many great things together. When you retire, you will be able to enjoy your life. You don't want to retire and then you end up being on the street. You don't want to retire, you end up, waiting on some government list to get housing because you can't afford housing. Like living in, that's why you see last time, I don't know if you saw, I think it's Biscuit Media, I think it was. We had a video about how they were talking about, people in Germany. They see that the Caucasian Germans, the real Germans, they live longer after retirement.
of course.
But minority people, they die early. These are some of the things we are doing, right? That is preventing us from living longer. That you we are paying at 60, 65. You don't come out. Meanwhile, you see one Oyibo person, 80 something. Like, a friend of mine lost the mother-in-law, the father-in-law. I asked how old? 85 years old, right? People are living at 85 years. Yes, you can live that long. But it takes wisdom in this modern world for you to be able to live that long.
Thank
It
you.
takes patience. It takes self discipline. You have to know your self worth as a man. You also have self worth. Don't demean women. Don't undermine women. Don't think you're taking advantage of them. What is it for you to gain when today you are lying in Ama's bed, tomorrow you go lie in Kriya's bed, the next day you go and lie in Abna's bed, then Adra's bed, then you go back and recycle around. Abba, at some point you have to ask yourself, how much does it even cost for you to even buy a house, in Lagos, or buy a house in Ibadan? Now you buy multiple houses for all these women. Now put all their children in private school. God forbid if your music career derails and nobody's buying your albums anymore, nobody's streaming you on YouTube, nobody's attending your concerts anymore. Where are you going to get that money to maintain this lifestyle? And for women, that are also around him, right? Where are you also going to be getting the money to maintain this lifestyle, right? It's sweet now, but is it going to be sweet tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
right? What
Mm-hmm.
happened to Fela's wife
Mm-hmm.
when Fela was no more, right? We must always learn from history, right? We want to build legacies, right? We don't want to live in situations where we continue to propagate poverty, promote poverty, bring down our own self worth as a community, as a culture. We also want somebody to emulate us. We also want people to look at us, right? So that they can also think of us as people who are worth, you know, more than the music or the games we play, or whether we are basketball players or we play American football or play baseball. It has to go beyond that, right? And I've said, if it's the money, then let's go and bring Jabozo's baby mamas. I want to see them, all of them, right? If it's about the money,
This is big. This is big.
I want
Antia,
to see
thank you
them.
so much for being here. Attractor, God bless you for being here. There's a point here that I wanted to raise, and I'll let you comment to that as well. There's a sister here who says, we worry too much over nothing, and I'm waiting to see the perfect relationship. Nobody is here saying there's a perfect relationship. I never said there was one. My parents don't have a perfect relationship. I don't. My sister doesn't. None of us do. But what we are saying, though, is that the things that cause the biggest rifts in marriages and long term relationships is cheating. It's having multiple women. You see, for me, if a man meets me today and says to me, hey, Sika, I can't be a one woman man. I'm going to have multiple women. I'm going to marry multiple women. As our brothers and sisters who are Muslims say, you can have multiple women as long as you are able to look after each of those women equally. I have a friend who is an imam, a very good friend of mine in England who is an imam. I asked him, he told me that that is what the Islam religion says. You can have multiple women. Yeah. Yeah, it gives you the chance to do that. But you have to be responsible for them equally. It's not just even financially. How much attention you pay to them, how you show affection to them, everything that you do for one, you must do for the other. It must be balanced. How can you do that? How can you smile the same? Measure your mouth and make sure when you smile like this to Roberta, you smile like this for me. How can you do that? But that's the only condition. So those who do it, a lot of them break it. The other point I wanted to raise here is that this is from what a sister here was saying, that a lot of resentment is created on the part of the children. We've said this. You don't spend quality time with your children with different baby mamas. Money does not compensate for lost years. And children need your time and commitment and not just your money. My darling, I want you to wrap this up for us as we close.
That is a very, very good point our sister Maria made. Children need your commitment, not just money, right? And this goes back to some of the woes we see in our community, right? When we look into, and me, when I'm looking, I'm just always going back because America is the only country that's really collected that have that segregation statistics that they do, right? We see that most of children in Black community in the diaspora, and I'm sure it's reflective of UK. It's also very reflective of Canada. They are more likely. They actually their prison population is higher compared to the Caucasian one. These are some of the problems, right? So it's not a perfect relationship we are looking for. We are looking for people who are intentional in the decisions that they make, right? The reason why I say it's not a perfect relationship, but it should be a relationship that is still based on trust, commitment to each other,
Mhm.
and commitment to one another, and commitment to family, right? Because the most important thing, we are not saying that Caucasian counterparts they don't cheat, they do. I know of a couple that have, Caucasian friends that they've run themselves into trouble because they were, doing things that was inappropriate. By the end of the day, for them, when they're going through that, they think about therapy, right? Do we think about therapy? No, we make excuses. Culture, oh, this is how it is, this is how. No, right? We make excuses. You go to therapy, go and deal with your trauma, right? Deal with the situation that you're going through, right? And make the right decision. Maybe your dad was polygamous, and as a result, you saw him bring different women. That is trauma. So
Mhm.
you are also emulating that. Just that now you've grown up in a society where you only have to marry one woman, right? So because of that, you marry that one woman, but then you go around and be around with different women. That is trauma. You need to go for therapy and deal with that behavior, right? You have to think it's very consequential. Everything you do, there are consequences for it. So therefore, you must think about what can I do better? What must I do to make things better? Right? We all need to get therapy. Broken man syndrome. A lot of us are broken. Your dad married, your stepmom was mean to you, that is trauma. Your dad married another woman, abandoned your mother, and as a result, as a guy, you now have all these, attachment issues, resentment, unforgiveness. Your dad did not take care of you, and then after you transfer it onto your children, you two, you are not taking care of your children because your father did not take care of you, right? That is trauma. Then you need to deal with it. You must deal with it, right? So, and all of these things, I'm not saying that might be his case, but who knows? Either his grandfather was polygamous, or maybe his dad could also be in such relationship, right? So you if you study people who have gone through either abuse, sexual abuse, or any form of abuse, or anything that has transpired, there is always a family connection, right? Always a family connection. Or so let's really examine ourselves, right? Is it worth it for her to put herself through? What kind of example is she setting for women? How is it panning out for other women who are put themselves through this? How will she feel about the future of her children, right? Or the children that is yet to come? It's all the strife. It's
Mm.
because if anybody say that all of them are happy together, it's a happy
They're not.
family.
They're
That's a
not.
bloody lie.
Yeah.
It's a bloody lie, right? So, and we don't want to alert, we don't want to say anything, but at the end of the day, we all need to really reflect. You know, for me, if he has one, two baby mamas, pack your bags and leave. If he gets three women pregnant that same year, don't
Mm.
be the fourth one to get pregnant for him.
Mhm.
Because, and I know girls do that,
Mm.
right? Oh, this one got pregnant, and you get pregnant, and you get pregnant, and it's as if it's a merry-go-round. What are you doing to yourself, right? What are you doing? Is this a contest? Have you thought about the children you're bringing into the world, right? You know, what peace? Do you have peace of mind? How are you going to deal with the emotional trauma and the constant thing that comes with it? So, for me, what I'm going to say is women, let's deal with our self worth. Men, know your self worth, self discipline. All of these is very crucial in becoming who we want to be. And that's all I got to say.
Yeah, I don't think I can add anything else to what has been said. There's a lot of attachment issues, there's a lot of trauma on both sides from what my sister has said, and we've all seen. And as she rightly alleged to or alluded to, all of us were broken for one reason or another. Some of us were raped when we were young. Some of us women, we have always had cheating men. And so we've come to accept that it's the norm. My grandmother told me growing up that if I wanted to marry an African man, I had to accept cheating as part of it. And if I refused to accept that, then I'm not being realistic, because that's all she came to see. She was married to a man who ended up having multiple women and having multiple children. A lot of us are traumatized by so many things. It is only the people who even have the boldness to even admit to it in the first place, one. And two, because that's half the battle. Understanding and then coming to a place of acceptance that you're traumatized is the first step to healing. But a lot of us are bitter, in pain, and we act it out in so many different ways and don't even want to speak the truth to our own selves, our own souls, that we are broken people. But that is the first step to healing. Now, we disregard healing and therapy as if it's something. Why should I go and speak to a shrink? Why should I go and speak to somebody? Yeah, okay, don't. But then you're just carrying all of that thing on and on and on and not being the best version of yourself humanly possible. If you don't deal with it, it will hound you, it will chase you, it will follow you, it affects your decision making, it affects the things that you do, how you perceive life, living in denial, as my sister just says here, and won't accept it and living in denial. Many of us don't want to go for therapy because it costs too much money. I should just go and pay money to go and sit to somebody and talk to them. Yeah, but you're bottling it all inside because you can't trust anybody around you to offload it to. Who should come and take your garbage? Hmm? When you live in the diaspora, I'm sure it's the same even in Africa, because where we live, when they come to pick up your trash, every month you pay a fine or a fee for it. So it's the same thing here, right? So if you pay for waste management where you live, why should somebody take your waste that you have inside of you that is eating you up and not charge anything for it? That's their profession too, right? And we all have professions that feed us. So why shouldn't the therapist charge you a fee to take your rubbish? Why? If you think about it that way and you process it that way, believe you me, you will get therapy. And yes, it costs money, but trust me, it is worth every penny. The reason why we act out and do all the things that we do is because we haven't gone to seek help and get help. And it's about time in our society that we normalize that. We make it normal to get help. Not all spiritual leaders at Tractor, I love you so much. I wish I could hug you right now. That's what a lot of us think. Oh, but I talked to my pastor. Your pastor is not a therapist. Yes, there is a place for spiritual healing. It helps. But that's not the kind of therapy I'm talking about. The pastor may not be able to listen to some of the things that you have probably done. You don't feel that you're comfortable enough. You don't want to become his next prayer topic or preaching topic. Okay? So it is better sometimes to get out of your own community and go seek people. Go find people that you can trust, that are held professionally, to keep whatever you said to them confidential. The only time that therapists would be forced to tell something, and even then they don't give the details, just if you're a harm or a danger to yourself or somebody else. If you're traumatized to the point where you want to take your life, they have a duty of care to you to ensure that they let the enforcement agencies know about that. If you're a danger to somebody else, they have a duty of care to them too. But outside of that, they keep everything that you say to them under wraps, because by law and by their own work that they do and all the things that are associated with that, that is what they have to do. So if you can't trust me and you can't trust anybody else in your community to be able to hear you and be able to help you, please get out there. There are therapists that you can see that would help fix your life. We are all broken. That is God's honest truth. We are. And the earlier we stop doing look face and covering up and keeping up appearances and trying to keep up with the Joneses, we women especially, we think that when we dress up nicely and we put up makeup and the different layers of foundation, it means that you're not hurting anymore. Honey, the eyes are the mouthpiece to your soul. And those of us who can see beyond the smiles, the laughs, and the giggles, the forced whatever, we can see through you. We can see what your eyes are telling. And it tells a whole different story that makeup and foundation can never fix. This week, we're going to be talking a lot about some of the things that traumatize us. And this is all, a prelude to the things that we're going to be discussing here on this platform this week. So come prepared, take your pen and paper and whatever else you need to get, because it's going to happen. It's coming down. We're bringing down the house. And I hope that through this whole experience, that some of us will actually and finally deal with the things that are traumatizing us in this community of ours, because there's so many things. And it's about time we deal with them. And so, my darling, I'll just let you finish us off here and then we'll be gone.
Yeah, I think I don't have any more things to say, but really the most important thing is I want all of us to really do a self inventory on the way why we make certain decisions, right? Don't look at what other people are doing, because sometimes people don't share, or you don't ever see how the things ends up working out for them, right? We see how the whole thing played out with Annie after so many, almost 20 decades later, right? We saw it right in front of the whole wide world, right? So there's always going to be some things that are going to come back, So let's take a self inventory, right? Do we need to have 5 baby daddies, 5 baby mamas? Is it worth it, right? And how is that really building us up, right? So let us all think about it. Just because it worked out for your mom or it worked out for your dad, is it going to work out for you in this generation? Let's remember, before people were in warehouses picking stuff. Now, if you go to some Amazon warehouses, even some McDonald's are now being run by robots. There is always transformation, there's always change. So what worked in the past might not work in the present. So we shouldn't say, oh, because it worked then. No, we should think about where we are at and how we can evolve, right? And not look at the things of the past as a measure up to what how we make decisions today. So really that's all I have to
I
say.
want you to answer this question that our sister has here. She says, please, I have a question. So, the best decision for a woman to do is to walk out of her marriage when it is assumed that her husband is cheating. That's a question that she's asking.
Well, I don't think that you should walk out of your marriage because your husband is cheating, right? That is not the basis. And that's not what we are talking about here, right? We are talking about someone who has a chronic or historic behavior or pattern, right? Where he's a serial, baby mama, right? Today is Ama, tomorrow is Kojo, having children everywhere. So that's different from an institution of marriage, right? We all know that their marriage is quite recent, right? And all these things are so it's not the same measuring stick, right? So that's not what we're saying here. What we're saying is how before you even get into such situation or before you even get there, try not to get there, right? So that's what we're saying. And okay,
That's fine. All right, darling. Thank you so much for being here. I know you're busy, so thank you so much. Thank you so,
okay,
so much for
um,
being here. God richly
okay,
bless you. And we
enjoy.
appreciate you. Yeah. Thank you. Now, my sister, the thing that I also wanted to add to what my sister said here is that you've asked this question about whether we are saying that people should quit marriages because there is an alleged or assumed cheating. The thing is that assumed or otherwise, trust is broken. And when trust is broken, we women, we do a lot of things. When trust is broken, a heck of a lot of things happen. Let's just be frank and put it out here. It's not that easy, right? When things like that happen. So you are living with this man, and all you're doing is you're hearing other people talking about, hey, this man, I saw him here, I saw him there. The next thing that a lot of my sisters do is that we start tracking our husband's phone. As soon as he goes into the washroom and he leaves his phone by the bedside or the dining table, you go take the phone to scroll it to see which women he's been talking to. And then you write down their numbers. Some people go as far as calling the other women. Stop chasing other people's husband and stop doing this. You then just become a shell of yourself a lot of the time because you can't have the peace of mind to even reason and think, right? A lot of the times when people say alleged or assumed cheating, to me, there is no smoke without fire. There's no smoke without fire. And for me, cheating isn't when you go and see somebody lying on top of somebody else and they're doing mama and papa. The cheating started way before that. When you're married, if you stay true to each other and you're open, honest, and frank with each other about everything, you don't leave any room for assumptions or anything. When feelings change, people fall in love and out of love all the time. If you don't want me anymore, be bold enough to tell me, honey, I don't feel the same way about you anymore, so that we can figure things out. But what hurts is when you think that I'm committing with everything. I'm giving him everything. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And the other party is not doing the same. Some men are able to stick to one woman for the rest of their lives. Some of them, a lot of them, are Caucasian. How do they do it? What is it in their DNA that we don't have in ours that makes them able to do that and we are unable to do it? Have we asked ourselves those questions? Because when we cut them, it's the same red blood that comes out of all of us. So, what is it that makes our Caucasian brothers stay and we don't? Let's ask ourselves those questions. Sometimes, because I know of some of my sisters that have been through this, they've been with men giving up their lives at the prime of their time. They've given up their lives to men in their teens when they should have probably waited and explored and met other people before making decision about who they want to be with. But they chose, no, I committed to this one, so I'm gonna stick with him. And then there and there is there on is splashed all across their face, as my sister is talking about. Now they've given you STD. If it's not gonorrhea, it's HIV. If it's not HIV, it's hepatitis. Some of these things live with you for many years. So, sometimes when we're talking about some of these things, it's not just about, oh, and she says she won't do it anymore and she doesn't want to be in the marriage. It's not about that, but it's about the effects of actions and consequence on not just the man, but the woman also. If you leave a woman guessing all the time and not being able to have the free space to enjoy the marriage, all sorts of things happen. I've seen so many women who have been advised to stick in their marriage because it's for better, for worse. He just cheated the one time and you are saying you can't live with him anymore and this, that, and they've stayed and now they're 6 foot under. So the question I'm asking, was it better for this woman to have left and sought help and gotten therapy and been able to fix her mind and herself right and stayed alive for her children and her family, even herself? Or was it better for her to just stay in the marriage just for the sake of staying? Because that's what society says is good for you. That's what your pastor says is best. That's what scripture that somebody else is interpreting says is best for you. These are all things that we need to think very deeply about. And for the people that have been traumatized because of cheating spouses, they will tell you it's not an easy thing. It's not. You're messed up for life. And it takes the grace to fix your mind to even be able to trust anybody anymore. I love us all so much. I've thoroughly enjoyed this session. You cannot change a person who does not want to change. Okay, so he cheated once and it was a mistake. What is he doing to be accountable? Is he even seeing what he's done as anything? Many people, many men will tell you, have a farm, you must have a garden. This one too, why are you stressing over it? What is all this? So I'm with you all the time. If I go and do one away match, what is wrong with that? You must understand now. I can't keep on eating banku and eba every day. I get tired. You think I don't get tired? Or you think she doesn't get tired? She does too. Right? So sometimes we just need to be balanced in the things that we say. Some men have made up their minds that they will always be cheats and there's nothing you can do and this is how we were made, and they tell about all this bull crap that doesn't even make any sense. But it's just because a lot of our men, as I said, are broken. They're broken and they won't face up to their brokenness. And so they want the easiest fix is to carry on in dysfunction. And so they just want to do the dysfunctional things. But if you love your children, if you could see the future from the beginning, if you have that ability to project what is going to happen in your future, a lot of men, I have a friend, a male friend, who tells me that many years after the father had cheated on the mom and had multiple children and multiple other girlfriends and this, that, and the other, he had his father in later life in the bathroom bathing one day saying, "This wasn't how I wanted my life to be." This is a man who is now in almost 60, broken. The better part of illnesses have taken over his life, and he's sitting down now in his late 50s into 60s, now reflecting on his actions of the past 20, 30 years and wishing that he had made better choices. But by this point, yeah, the wife is still staying in the marriage, but she's resigned. She doesn't give a toss about him anymore. She Yeah, she's staying because everybody says it's good enough to stay. But her heart was, yeah, in a cage. She will do what has to be done, but she's not going to go above and beyond for you. Is this the kind of home that is good enough for us to raise children in? Because it's not good to advise couples to separate when a man is being a habitual cheater in a relationship. To me, it's not a mistake. You knew what you were doing and you made the choice to do it. Yeah, that's my opinion. But anyway, I love everybody here so much. My sister Attractor, Farota Day, my sister Ikuamua, God bless you. I love you so much. Um, Sister Maria, Sister Iffy, Lilieth, like all of you. I love you also, Mantia. God bless you, Pastor Patience. God bless you, Sister Jodo. God bless you, Marciano Costello. God bless you for being here. God bless every single one of you. YouTube, Facebook. I love you also, my sister Tina. Tina, God bless you. It's not that easy, but we need to make better choices in order to ensure that we are leaving a generation and an inheritance where our great grandchildren can be proud of us and say lovely things about us. It is doable, it is possible if you want to make it happen. I love you so much. Have a fantastic Sunday. And as I said, we are coming into the new month of May and we're hitting it hard on trauma, abuse, and the things that have happened to us that have left us shells of ourselves. And then we're going to find out the things that we need to do to make us better people. Because whether we like it or not, we are all broken. I love you so much. May your week be blessed. May everything you touch turn to gold. May your job, your children, your family, everything be blessed this week. I love you so much. Have a fantastic week ahead. Stay safe, stay beautiful, and always remember, whether you're man or woman, to always look after yourself and make yourself a priority also. Bye bye, honeys.